One is it? Yeah.
Okay, and here's our marquee matchup. A Trompowsky again. I mean,
maybe it's a good blitz opening.
well, I mean, it's like the fashion. It's so hard to understand the picks of the. And we saw e7, e6, c4 by Hikaru, who was playing against MVL, transposed into a Queen's Gambit decline from a Trompowsky move order. And the move c7, c6, and immediately a capture on f6. I like Prague's
I feel like he's
hand. You know, like he moves the pieces and puts them on the center of the square, although he did, you know, fudge the pieces in one
when you have
earlier
1 second
game.
on the clock.
Yeah. Oh.
C4.
But normally, at the end of his move, the piece ends directly on the square. The idea of this early captures, by the way, on f6 is not necessarily just to double the pawns, but the idea is that you want to isolate this pawn on d5. You do want to play c4 takes d5, and that's why we saw Alireza capturing, which kind of helps White develop.
But position opened up a little bit, and Alireza does have the pair of bishops.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Oh, Queen b3.
Okay, intimating that b7 is a target. But you mentioned the pair of bishops, and so...
He's keeping them.
Well, he's trying to make a trade. I would suspect knight e4, followed by knight c5 is what Prague has in mind.
Yeah, I don't think black can keep the bishop pair for too long.
Exactly. Exactly.
Would you play f5 here, or...?
No, I wouldn't want to. I wouldn't want to weaken the e5.
I think he is going to, unless he wants to play knight c5, bishop d5, but that runs into e4. I think he is going to play bishop c8, maybe.
So knight c5, bishop c8. Anybody minority attack? Anybody? Minority report.
Yeah, I think that's what White should try.
Exactly.
This is c6 pawn, not looking so.
Peter,
well
you've got the two bishops here as black, but on the other hand, what? I mean, we understand you want to maintain the two bishops, but what is black? Are you playing for f5, f4? What are you playing for?
Potentially, yeah. I'm trying to maybe hint at some ideas against the white king side. You can throw in bishop g4 at any point, which probably will drive one of the knights back. Perhaps you play h5 and ask for a reaction, but white is very stable, but combining this stability with also trying to achieve something on either flank is probably going to be the biggest issue.
I think it's interesting how Prague did not include knight c5, bishop c8.
I'm very surprised by the lack of inclusion. I would have thought knight c5, bishop c8 was an automatic. You do want to see black playing the move b7, b6.
Weakening the pawn on c6.
Precisely so. Bishop e2, and once again, I think it's time to jump to the c5 square. Although, by doing so now, Alireza does have an option of playing rook b8 as opposed
He's not
to playing
forced to.
bishop c,
Right.
bishop c8.
It still feels like it's time because you don't really want to be allowing all kinds of tactics because you do need to calculate bishop f5s and even rook takes e4, bishop f5.
Yeah.
You really don't want to be thinking about any of that. So I would like the knight on c5 already.
Exactly.
He disagrees.
Rook
E1?
e1.
It's still fine. I wonder why he's so reluctant to put that piece there. Black for 2 moves in a row had the option of playing a7, a5, which the computer quite liked, but Alireza, I guess, is just not looking in that direction.
Well, now if knight c5, I don't think Firouzja is going to go back rook b8. He will play b6,
Yeah,
right?
I think that's his intention. Wow.
I'm not in love with this because I thought we will eventually will have to play something on the king side, and that something is g3, frankly, because I think we want to restrict the bishop on c7.
Right.
I don't know if I like playing h3 in this structure at all.
So bishop f5, he wants to meet with...
Bishop d3?
Rook e4 is currently playable somehow.
Rook e4 and bishop f5.
But what happens after queen h4? I guess we just play king g7 and we create a threat of g5. I don't know if this is findable, yeah, and Alireza indeed does not do it. Not a shocker.
F5, bishop to d3. Well, again, from Prague's point of view, give him the option of playing knight to c5.
Oh, b6 proactively. I don't know what I think about that.
I have a tactical defense of the... Ooh, Ooh.
But c6 is now weakened forever,
That's
right?
the problem, right?
Yeah, I think the position improved for white a little bit. It's not that black is suddenly in any kind of serious trouble, but we're definitely happy that we've stabilized. We want to maybe play knight e2 or maybe even knight c3. Pretty much any light piece trade here should favor white a little bit.
So maybe
Knight e2, I think the bishop goes to d7. It's very difficult to force black to accept that trade. Although then we can go bishop a6 and put the rook on c7, which will look incredibly awkward.
awkward,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, I think black has to trade the bishops.
I like the move knight c3 actually, because I do like this pawn on c6 as being a primary target, and he has played that move. Bishop takes f5, huge threat.
Oh.
Okay.
Alireza keeping the bishops. Can white just go e4 here, or is it premature?
e4 is possible, but another thing that Peter mentioned, that the move bishop a6, rook c7, does make things a little bit awkward for the bishop.
Absolutely. I do think that rook can go to e7 and open up the bishop again.
Right. But you have mentioned also captures on d5 and maybe e3, e4.
Well, Pragg listened to Peter, played bishop a6.
And now we start to think, should we be playing knight takes in e4? Should we be playing e4 immediately?
Right. But you could also play knight e2 with e4 idea.
Knight e2.
But then you have bishop f5, and now I may never get e4.
Well, then bishop to d3. It's kind of like a lot of toing and froing.
Yeah.
He decided, I'm cutting the Gordian knot, I'm capturing on d5. And white has achieved what he had hoped, which is to isolate this pawn. Queen to a4, followed by bishop to b5 to bishop to c6.
That's one way to go about it, yeah. I also... The way to talk about this position is if, let's say, all four rooks come off, and then we put a bishop on f3 and manage to get the knight somewhere around, let's say, the c3 square. The d5 pawn just dies because there's just no pieces to protect it.
That's right.
Which means that black has to be extremely careful here. Black needs to keep in mind that allowing all kinds of simplifications would be very, very dangerous strategically, because with all four rooks gone, let's say, control over the c-file counts for very, very little, and the weakness of the d5 pawn counts for a lot. I like him playing h5 because, you know, one thing that could stand in the way of that very simplistic plan is black just putting, let's say, queen on d6, a bishop on c7, and saying, moving the knight away from f3 will be fraught with danger. And in particular, if you get time enough to play g5 and h4,
Yes.
Also stopping white from ever playing g2, g3, which is why, yeah, it's a bit awkward for white. You have to make a number of moves here, sort of in a row, and black needs to say, yes, I will allow all of that. Like, I would like to play h4, g3, bishop f1, bishop g2. And I'm better. I'm not sure if I'm winning, I'm better, for sure. But if you play h4 here, you probably run into g5.
Right.
So I am not sure how easy all of this is to achieve. On the other hand, if white touches nothing, black will obviously find it very, very difficult to generate a single active plan.
Right.
A little update, actually, huge
Big,
update.
yeah.
Nepo won his game against Notterbeck
Small
with the black
update.
pieces. There's a big blunder by Notterbeck. I think he blundered a checkmate.
Oof.
Ooh.
He blundered a rook in one move in a completely equal position.
Well, that's really, really painful because it's just coming off of the loss against MVL, where, as Christian was showing, it's just simply a beautiful game by Notterbeck. He was cruising to victory when he had a huge accident. By the way, Prague.
Also, Fabi is winning his game against Hikaru.
Well, now that's a huge result right there. I want to say Prague is doing his darndest to get that position where you were saying, when you can put your bishop on c6, hit the pawn on d5.
Yeah, but how does the knight on f3 gets anywhere from f3?
Yeah, well, it
is the big question.
It's
It's a very long way.
to Timbuktu.
Yeah.
You got to get your
I
knight.
guess we go knight g1, knight e2, but then we really have to be very careful not to blunder the queen somehow penetrating into our camp. I like king e2, by the way, with the idea of bishop d3. And one thing I will note: bishop takes f3, king takes f3 might be a draw, but
it might be just that
but it's
loss.
not a comfortable one. And
Yeah.
you would like maybe not to do that for as long as possible with black, because
Yeah. In such a position, Bent Larsen playing against Stahlberg. Stahlberg made the decision to play f3. Bent went down to defeat, and Bent was angry and asked his opponent, why did you go into this bishops of opposite color ending? And Stahlberg answered, young man, don't you understand? In such positions, I can never lose. Bishop of opposite color. And here we have it. Once again, would you like a bishops of opposite color ending? Would you like to take on f3? No.
I think he's leaving it up to Pragg. You can trade if you like on e4.
Exactly.
Queen c2.
Queen c2. Okay, that a bit of a surprise. What are we doing on c2?
We don't want to allow the queen to land on e4, I think. So we're trying to take on e4 in such a way that black will have to take with the pawn.
So you think
it's still
F5,
not very much, frankly.
the knight can jump to e4. Yeah, pardon me, to e5. Apologies. Yeah. So I want to play g4. I just don't want to see the knight landing on h4. So how can I? Is king g6 ridiculous? King g6 with the idea g4?
No, I think it's fine. And how would White continue? Knight.
Well, I wanted to take the knight on d2 after.
Oh, you were going to take it?
Yeah, I was going to take it. Well, he
we
captured.
have a trade and queen c7. Queen taking over the c file.
Just you do see these ideas of where's
Both
the queen
players
going?
are on 35 seconds, by the way.
Yeah, I would with white. I would like to play king d1, g3, and h4 to sort of cut off all the entrance routes for the queen, and also try to provoke g4 so that my knight has an f4 square to aim for.
Yeah, if g4
Which would
White
be a
would
dream.
also have knight h4, knight
Yeah,
f5.
I like king d1 here. I think king d1 is the way.
King d1 is a very good. Again, just protecting the business squares.
Yeah, and you see Alireza stopping white from playing g3 there, and also attacking a4, of course. Yeah, I forgot about the a4. I think it's just fine for black because the knight is just so far away from good squares. Eventually, we will, I think, have to just trade it for the bishop, and the resulting queen ending will be completely
Are
equal.
we threatening h4 or not?
Queen g4. Allowing queen g4, you have to have a reply to queen g4, and I don't think we currently have one.
Okay,
See,
guess
g4
what?
played.
Wow.
Alireza is taking some risks.
Inviting
Knight h4.
knight h4, knight f5.
I guess he actually wants to play king g6 there, and yeah, Pragg says thanks but no thanks.
Okay.
Traded to g1.
By the way,
Now queen's coming into h2.
g3.
G3. He's achieving
Can that
the
be met
dream
with
setup.
Yeah,
we
no,
were
this is
saying.
sort of a okay.
Okay, he
This is
gained some
he saw
time.
queen a6, and Pragg also saw queen a6, and the fact that gh is not included yet kind of stops white from doing anything else. He
pity.
cannot go knight e2 because gh will basically promote.
That's
into a queen.
three-time repetition.
Yes, I think they're
That's
repeating.
it. That's it. Queen e2 will be a.
Let's not. Yeah, let's take
That's
the draw here.
four-time repetition. Okay,
That's a
we're
draw.
going to switch over to the Hikaru.